Get it right out of the way. Hey everybody, this is the SVT Sports Podcast. I'm Vince. I got Sam and Tyler with me. How's it going, fellas?
What's
I'm gonna
up?
change that cuss record to
Dude,
point
zero
zero
one.
0.02
It
somewhere in
was it's
there.
1 second. Come on, it was right away. Within 1 second. Give me my due.
No,
That's right.
I gotta give you two because you
It
can't
was
climb.
2 words.
You can't go any faster than that. We got to make sure
We
that
got to
there's
put
some
it
room.
in replay.
Oh, silence your phones.
Ooh.
Ooh, number
Ooh,
one rule.
number
Yeah,
one rule, and I'm the one that always says it, and I didn't even say it this time. That's on me. Apologies, everybody.
because
Uh,
now we can go into to
yeah.
milliseconds. We can go to 1 point something now.
No, I still maintain that it was 1 second in. Anyway, moving on. Tim is on the ones and twos. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Good, doing good.
All right. So,
Cool.
Cool. I'm
cool,
feeling cool.
cool,
Cool.
We didn't
wicked.
just get an AI voice generated of Tim here.
That's
He
right.
is here.
No, he
I
really
like
is.
the sports. Let's talk about the sports.
All right. So obviously the big story is the A's move to Sacramento. We'll talk about that a little bit later for our main story. But before that, we got a lot of other side notes and other sports to talk about. For football, let's just start off this rip these band-aids right off. Stephon Diggs got traded to Houston. And then they converted his entire contract to be just 1 year. So they're going to basically just cash him out this year. And if it works out, maybe he resigns, maybe he goes elsewhere. If he's not washed, he can, get some more money next for the following season. So, what do you guys think about that move?
That is a loaded Texan roster. I mean, offense and defense, they got better on both ends. So if Diggs is your 1-2, I know they've already got kind of a 1-2 going on there right now. But if Diggs is your 1-2, and then you move someone down to that was normally a 1-2 to a 3, it's pretty powerful wide receiving core that they got there. So tough
Yeah.
team.
When I first heard the deal and that the Texans were basically turning everything into a 1-year deal, I was kind of like, man, that's crazy. Why would you do that? But then after I kind of thought about it, I think it kind of makes sense because as talented as he is, there's been some chatter, there's been some personality issues, it seems like any talented wide receiver in the modern football era, it seems to go together like peanut butter and jelly is a talented wide receiver and a lot of attitude. So to me, it kind of made sense to put him on a 1-year deal. Maybe he's on his best behavior and he has a breakout year. And you kind of get the best of both worlds where you get the best out of him, but you don't really have to pay him that number one wide receiver money. He could then go elsewhere. And then hopefully, in that third year, the quarterback and the rest of the team as a young team takes that step. And then you don't really need Stephon Diggs in the room because the quarterback has just made many leaps and bounds in his development. But for a 1-year deal and as a roster, amazing. We still
He
got to get
does.
through the draft, but
Yep.
off the bat, Houston, I mean, just what they did last year with a rookie quarterback, and now you're coming back. You got to think everybody's going to get a little better, but off the bat, you got to look at Houston and say, holy crap, they're a serious contender right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephon Diggs does tend to wear out his welcome a little bit. He does after a couple of years, it happened in Minnesota, and clearly there were things happening in Buffalo this past year, and maybe even a little bit last year too. But obviously, immensely talented player, and with only a 1-year deal, I'm sure he's on his best behavior. So that way he can get paid again. And if it's by the Texans, great. If not, somebody else wants to pay him, I'm sure there will be buyers for that. I think he's right around 30 years old. So he's like right on the cusp of like going over the wrong side of 30. He's got to watch out for that, I guess. Because when it goes, right? Because Father Time is
Absolutely.
undefeated. But for now, he still is that guy, right? I mean, and it just kind of the end of last season in Buffalo was a little weird because they got a new offensive coordinator and they didn't really focus on Diggs that much. So That's basically the question. Is he washed, or was it just the new offensive coordinator? So
My question is, what is Buffalo gonna do? I mean, they don't have
they're
big
drafting
agents.
somebody.
They
I
don't
mean,
have Diggs anymore. Like, is just Josh Allen just gonna throw to himself like he did last year? You know, I
Dalton
mean,
Kincaid is probably going to take a big step forward.
Well, there
The,
was
the
what's
tight
going on
end
with
that they
Brandon
got.
Ayuk in San Francisco.
Well, right now they're still. I mean, Ayuk wants to get paid, and I'm sure they're trying to figure out a way to do that. And they also have to worry about Brock Purdy. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens there. Kittle and Juszczyk and a couple other guys took some salary restructures, so that way they can start paying some of these other guys that need to be paid as well. So, I mean, the Niners are working on it behind the scenes, and I'm sure they're saying right now they have no intention of trading him. And I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens there, because this will be 2 years in a row, right? Because it was Debo last year, and then Ayuk this year.
It's
So
crazy that Buffalo just got rid of him with no clear plan for a replacement. Like
Mhm.
that's clearly like just get him the fuck out of the locker room.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah. Um, talking about that incident, we're going to move over to another incident. Rashee Rice was driving his Lamborghini in Dallas and then crashed his Lamborghini and took out a few other cars too. Fortunately, nobody was killed. There was like no like super serious injuries, I don't think. I didn't hear of any. But it's still really bad. And what is it with these young guys? You know, they get the money, the wide receivers especially, and then I don't know, man. This is not a good look. He's probably going to miss half the season, I would think. You know, especially when you think about the Henry Ruggs incident where he actually did kill somebody, and I think about that and how these young guys, they got to be you got to be more careful. Have somebody else do the driving. You don't need to drive anymore. You know, I don't know. You know, something.
Well, we've
But
literally said that, it's up to the team's prerogative as how they want to do it, but they're literally, and I would assume in every single team, a hotline number that they can call, and they will pick them up at any time,
Mhm.
anywhere,
Right.
and take them back to where they need to go safely.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, this was during daytime though too, so that's the other thing. I think they did find some weed in his car, which is a big no-no in Texas. So you got this is just not a good look for the only wide receiver on the Chiefs that actually had hands. You know, they brought in yeah.
To be the old man who yells at cloud is driving like this is not just a problem of NFL players and wide receivers. It's like a problem across the nation. And my old man moment is I got zero tolerance for it. You know, I've had friends be injured in car accidents due to nonsense, due to somebody just doing something fucking stupid. A public street is not your playground. You know, so my opinion, Rashee Rice, as talented as you are, as an amazing player as you are, I'm sure you didn't intend to do anything wrong, but you did. And just like Henry Ruggs, he should be prosecuted with maximum authority, maximum punishment by not just the NFL, but the law enforcement. It's zero tolerance is that where I'm at. I'm tired of hearing about these vehicle mishaps, crashes, things like that. It's so disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about, and let's not forget what happened with Henry Ruggs III, where that woman died and she was heard with her dog screaming as they burned alive. Sorry, you're going to jail, homie.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. So, on that chipper note, let's move to something that actually is good. The Warriors get 3 out of 4 wins over this past week. They clinch a top 10 spot. They could still move as high as, I believe, 6 is still mathematically possible, but probably not realistically possible. But I mean, it's still, they could still move up in the rankings a little bit. So over the last week, they get a win versus Dallas by 4 points. They blow out Houston, basically ending Houston's shot at the playoffs or the play-in tournament. they take an L at Dallas. It was a very close game. And then they get the W against Utah at home, 118-110. They're currently 43 wins, 35 losses. Right now, still 10th in the West. But this is it's good news. The Warriors, the top 10 teams are locked in at this point. We knew that who these teams would be a couple weeks ago. Houston decided to make it a little more interesting before finally backing off a little. They've since lost 5 in a row now. So they were hot. They've cooled off. I thought they would. They did get above 500 before they cooled off, though. So that kind of made me a little skittish. But they're back to where we thought they would go, and the Warriors still mathematically have a shot at the 6th seed, but not a realistic one. They're 3 games back of the 6th and the 7th seed right now. The Kings are in the 8th seed. They're only 2 games ahead of the Warriors. Lakers are the 9 seed, 9.5 back of the top seeds. So, yeah,
I think they're just going to go hard against the Lakers because your hope is you're trying to get the home game.
Exactly. So
probably what you're shooting for.
Yeah, this week they got Tuesday at the Lakers. They have Thursday at Portland, Friday at the Pelicans, and then Sunday to close the schedule at home against Utah again. So this is basically it. There's 4 games left. You get that win against the Lakers. All of a sudden, the hosting that 9-10 game is within possibility instead of going down to LA. Although I don't think they're really all that afraid of going down to LA. They play pretty well down there.
Here's the thing. I was thinking about this today as I was listening to some Warriors podcasts and whatnot. Is I'm not trying to do predictions or anything. I hope the Warriors win tomorrow. If the game is in Golden State, the playoffs, or in LA, I'm sorry, but the fouls that the LeBron Lakers get is just so clearly the NBA favors the Lakers. I mean, I'm sorry, but the discrepancy between the Lakers, the number 1 fouled team, and then the Golden State Warriors, the least fouled team, like you're going to see that. You're going to see a huge difference.
Right.
And that's going to be the game. It's just as it's always the game with the Lakers. LeBron's going to go to the line, 12, 13 times tomorrow night?
I don't know. I mean,
at least
Curry's not going to go to the line 12, 13 times. But I will say that duo with TJD, he's getting himself to the line more often. And he's going to be, bumping with the trees himself down there too, whether it be LeBron or AD. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the Warriors are going to out free throw the Lakers because that's not going to happen. Lakers are going to get those calls. But I think it's going to be a little bit more, I'd say, balanced out for what the Warriors normally get. That's the best way I can put that.
70-30. Not the 80-20,
Yeah.
70-30.
Exactly.
It's a little bit closer, just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And Podzinski's still really good at getting himself to the foul line. Kuminga's pretty good at getting himself to the foul line when he needs to. So yeah, 80 or 70-30 sounds a lot better, to be honest.
I will say in the last 10 games, so in the 7th seed is the Pelicans, 8th seed is Kings, 9 is Lakers, and 10 is Warriors right now as it stands. The Pelicans are 4-6 in their last 10. The Kings are 5-5. The Lakers are 8-2, and the Warriors are 7-3. So your 9 and 10 seeds are playing a lot better than the 7 and 8 seeds right now. So catching them is not entirely out of the question right now. So
yeah,
it just kind of you got to play well down the stretch, right? These last 4 games coming up, last 5 games for the Lakers. So,
and I do think that the play-in tournament, though we've only had it for a couple seasons now, or 3 or 4 now. 3 seasons,
games for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
not 5.
I think no team has proven to be like how baseball does with their wild cards, where you get hot, you could probably win it all. Like that hasn't been proven, but could be the Warriors this year. They could be that.
Well, the
team.
best was Miami, but they were coming from the 7 seed.
Right.
I think.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's all one game. It's not a series. So I think that's the big difference between baseball and basketball when it comes to those wild card type of scenario situations. So, but hey, football has it. Sometimes you get teams that get hot and they run through them. So, I don't know. We'll see. Warriors still have some work to be done. Draymond just needs to make sure his emotions are in check. Let's not get ourselves ejected. But Clay looked great in that last game without Steph Curry playing on the court. Obviously, that dynamic duo of Dre, TJD, and Clay as their lineups seem to be a net positive. So that's good going forward. Pazinski looked great. He had that buzzer beater to end the first half there. So all signs pointing to positive as far as where they could be going towards the end of the season. And let's hope that the train keeps on rolling here.
Okay.
Real quick, I wanted to update everyone on our NCAA men's tournament standings here. No, these are not typos. You guys have hit your max. So
Yep, that is correct. Yep.
Sam is currently at 94, leading the way. I am at 83, but I can get to a max of 115.
You got to get tonight's game correct, right? You have Purdue.
You got to get the win. Yeah.
I just have to get the win. Purdue just has to get the win.
Purdue wins, you win our little side bet here.
Yep. So I could be snatching this away from you like Cinderella at the 12th hour here, Sam. So we'll see. We'll see if Zach Eddy gets the job done for you at 7-4, that big monster.
Right. So
ain't gonna happen.
NBA basketball Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2024 was announced. Vince Carter and Chauncey Billups were the headliners of the class. Simone Augustus was a WNBA 15-year career, rookie of the year, 4-time champ, gold medal 3 times. Those are your 3, top tier, no doubt about it, headliners. I kind of question Chauncey a little bit, but he's definitely better than this guy that I'm going to talk about right now, Michael Cooper. He was on the Showtime Lakers. He's a 5-time champ, defensive player of the year in 86-87, 8 all-defensive teams, but 0 all-star appearances. We're now setting a precedent where you don't have to make an all-star team to become a Hall of Famer.
Is that Mr. Cooper from Hanging with Mr.
No. I wish. No, yeah, that is not Mark Curry. That's Michael Cooper, unfortunately. Yeah, so I guess I just want to know, what do you guys think about that? No all-star appearances, but 8-time defensive player. Is Bruce Bowen a Hall of Famer now? I don't know.
His bow ties are.
I think
his bow ties are Hall of Fame. That's good.
I think all of these Hall of Fames are doing something that makes you question what is a Hall of Famer now.
Right.
Because baseball, if Bud Selig is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, then so is fucking Barry Bonds. So is Roger Clemens. Because if the commissioner of the steroid era is in, then let everybody in. So
I think
I know it's a different scenario. My point is, what defines a Hall of Famer is so blurred across all leagues now that, to me, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, I think Cooper, first ballot, no, but a Hall of Famer, sure. And the reason why I say is because 5 times, 5 rings. How many players, have 5 rings? I think that's worth noting. But also being a defensive player on the Showtime Lakers that had, arguably one of the best rosters ever constructed, not drafted, but constructed. To stand out as a defensive player on that team, knowing that you had Wilt Chamberlain on that team, I think that speaks volumes as well too. So do I think Michael Cooper is a Hall of Famer with 5 rings and being a defensive player on a pretty stout team like that? Sure, but maybe not a first ballot. I definitely think he could get in there. I just don't think a first ballot.
Okay, but I mean, James Jones has 7 titles.
But was
LeBron's
he a defensive player?
Favorite teammate of all time.
But was he a defensive player?
No. But I mean, it's just like there are people that have 1 or 2 of those pieces. Bruce Bowen has a couple of chips as well. He has like 2 or 3 titles with the Spurs.
Sure.
I don't think that Bruce Bowen is in any way a Hall of Famer, but I mean, he had. Let me look this up. Bruce Bowen. How many times did he make the all defensive?
I just think Michael Cooper standing out on a team that already was a pretty well defensive stout team.
Yeah,
anchored
18.
in by him.
Yeah, Bruce Bowen was 8 times, so the same number as Michael Cooper. I don't know.
8-time defensive teams.
8-time defensive team, and
Was he defensive player of the year though? I mean, it's kind of hard when you have Tim Duncan as your center.
Yeah, no, he didn't actually win defensive player of the year, but he finished second 3 consecutive times. Let's see, behind Ben Wallace twice and Marcus Camby once. So
Right,
I
well,
mean,
Ben Wallace.
so he was right there. So I mean, if you finish second for 3 years in a row, I think that's it's not really equivalent to winning it once, but like you're basically right there. I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that I don't think that Michael Cooper is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, I mean, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is like he retired with the Lakers in like, you know, the 90s or whatever. So I mean, he's been like, this was a selection committee. This wasn't a regular thing.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of questioning it.
But all these leagues have these selection committees now, and former player veteran committees, and you know, so there's all these ways to get in as a Hall of Famer now, where now it's like they're just, you know, it's like the playoffs, the play-in tournament. There's not enough teams in the playoffs. Well, three-quarters of the league sucked. Well, we'll just expand the playoffs. Let's make the baseball wild card more teams. Let's add another football game to the, you know, to the schedule and add another playoff spot. So they're just widening the pool to get more Hall of Famers in.
Yeah. I will say that this is the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA, the NBA Hall of Fame.
Right.
So I mean, this includes college career and you know, contributors and stuff, which is how Jerry West is getting in for his 3rd time as a contributor. Same with Doug Collins and Herb Simon as contributors. Let's see.
But I mean, that also too. That I mean, if you're going to make that argument about Michael Cooper, Jerry West never won a championship, and he's a Hall of Famer. Fuck,
yeah, no, but I mean, well, I mean, I'm not saying like championships are like a must win or anything like that. Like, but I mean, it's part of the it's a part of the resume. But I don't think there's anybody in the planet that didn't think that Jerry West was deserving of a Hall of Fame. I think that there's a lot of questions about Michael Cooper being like, is Dennis Rodman a Hall of Famer to you? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think
Jerry West got a title in the 71-72 season. So.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a Hall, like Rodman's a Hall of Good, but I will say this: Michael Cooper getting in eliminates all doubts. Draymond is definitely getting in now.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah, Draymond's definitely going in now, so that's good for. You know what? Probably Andre Iguodala now probably gets in too. I think because he does have the Finals MVP. Along with the championships.
He's got the championships. He's got the Finals MVP.
He was on the Olympic teams.
He's an Olympian, and he was like a legit #1 superstar for the 76ers and the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, after AI left Philadelphia, he was the dude for a couple years there in Philly.
Right.
Yeah. So
they went from one AI to another AI. So.
That's right. Yeah, so let's see who else. Walter Davis, Bo Ryan, Charles Smith, former Knicks guard Dick Barrett was another veterans committee. See there a longtime Harley Redden is her name. She's a longtime coach at Wayland Baptist University, was a veterans committee selection as well. Yeah, international committee voted in Michelle Timms, who was an Australian basketball player. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there's a lot of about 13 people I think got enshrined, are going to get enshrined this coming year. So it's a big class. It's a big class. And like we said, this is all basketball, not just NBA. So.
Yeah. All
right. I think that pretty much does it for basketball talk. Okay, so let's move over to the pitch. Our boys in Wales, Wrexham, they get a loss at Doncaster 1-0, and then they get a win 2-1 at Colchester. They are 3rd in the EFL2, 73 points. I
need to update it. So I'm sorry. That's 76 points.
76 points.
22 wins, 10 draws, and 10 losses.
Okay, 10 and 10. Yeah. All right.
So, look, you got
they're
arguably
still 3rd.
They're 3rd, but they got arguably one of the easiest remaining schedules One of the last games here is against Stockport, who was in first place. Wrexham, and that needs to be updated. I'm sorry, I was very tired today. Wrexham is in second, boys. So
Nice.
they're not only in second, but they have a game in hand from third place in MK or with fourth place, right? So to the playoffs. So as it stands, Stockport in first with 80 points. Wrexham in second with 76 points. MK Dons in third place with 74, and in fourth place, Mansfield Town with 73 points. So they just have to win the next 3 out of the 4 games left. That's it. Forest Green, bottom of the standings here.
Yeah.
Crawley Town, middle of the standings. They're trying to fight their way into a playoff scenario for themselves. And then after that, you do have the big game there against Crew Alexander and Stockport. So just get 3 out of the 4, you're in. That's it. Or get 2 and hope that, Stockport or Crew Alexander loses the game and you're in. That's it.
Yeah.
That's your dream scenarios. So
all right. Yeah. Easy as that, right?
Easy as that.
Easy as that. Okay. We know from the documentary they don't make anything truly easy, so it's going to be pretty exciting, I'm sure. The documentary is coming back for season 3 next month, I believe. So the season may not even be entirely over when they.
I heard that got
airing
pushed
episodes. Back. Oh, did they push it back?
I heard that got pushed back. So
okay.
I don't know about the updated of when that might release, but I read something that it got pushed back.
Okay. Well, anyway, it is coming. So let's see. Back home, the Earthquakes take an L 4-3 at Austin. They still only have 1 win on the season, but they've scored. They scored first in 4 of these 6 games that they played. 4 of these 7 that they've played. So I mean, they are getting some goals. They're just not getting enough. And this game against Austin, they allowed the game winner 11 minutes into what was supposed to be 10 minutes of stoppage time. So extra heartbreaking way to lose. You concede points when you could have had a draw, and that's just brutal. It is a brutal start to the season. They're dead last in the West. Not surprising. Saturday they're playing Colorado Rapids, and that's all I really want to talk about them right now.
Yeah.
Bay FC didn't have a game this past week. There's an international window right now happening. So they will pick up again this coming Sunday versus Seattle Reign. They're currently in 10th of the league right now, and they need to get to 6th for playoffs, by the way. But we're only 3 games into the season, and there's 26 of these bad boys to play. So, long way to go, but a lot of excitement actually for Bay FC. They're even though they have 2 losses, they played pretty well for the most part. It's just NWSL is chaos league, man. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens, and it's a lot of fun to watch. If you're going to start watching soccer, I actually probably recommend watching NWSL, because you're going to see a lot of goals and just a lot of really chaotic, weird, fun things happening. So it's pretty exciting. A nice way to dip your toe into soccer before you hit the boring stuff. Speaking of the international window, the U.S. women's national team are in the She Believes Cup. The semifinal was on Sunday. They get the win versus Japan in front of what is a non-World Cup record attended 50,644 fans. The prior record was 49K, and that was a game in 2019 after their World Cup victory in Philly as a friendly. So this is the non-World Cup record that they set in the semifinal. They'll probably get real close to topping it, if not topping it, when they play on Tuesday in Columbus. They actually yielded the first goal of the game 33 seconds in. Japan just off the jump drove down the right side and got it past the keeper. But then Jaden Shaw in the 21st minute, and then Lindsey Horan from the spot at 77 minute gets a penalty kick goal. Naomi Girma left the game early with a right thigh issue. I was kind of worried. She was like hobbling pretty bad. She like walked off onto the side and then went around the long way. We've seen other players like walk off like that with like worse injuries, but if it's just a right thigh and they don't know if she's going to play or not tomorrow.
It's very similar to like Pulisic in the World Cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little exhale. It doesn't sound like it's going to be bad. She's not really in danger of missing the Olympics or anything, so that's good. They're going to play Canada in the final of the She Believes Cup. It's a silly name, but it's actually a pretty serious tournament. So it's a way to get the really good teams to play each other every year on American soil. So it's a chance for, the not just the Americans, but Canada, Japan, and Brazil was the other team in this one. They they can play against iron sharpening iron type competition instead of playing dog shit teams that you're supposed to beat like 4-1 or something. So
Good.
yeah.
Good.
Final is, like I said, final is Tuesday in Columbus. So there's our
Big-
soccer talk. We did
Big,
it.
big sports week, man.
Yeah,
National
big sports week.
championship tomorrow. Final on Tuesday here. Wrapping up
Mhm.
the Shark season here. So how are the
That's-
Sharkies doing?
So they lose against Seattle. That was my pick for win of the week. Oh well. They lose at home against LA, but they get maybe the best feel good win of the season. 3-2 in overtime against St. Louis. Eklund scores all 3 goals. That's right. He gets his first career hat trick. It's his first career multi-goal game, actually, too.
Sam, that might
So-
be the guy's jersey you get.
Yeah, maybe it's him. Devin Cooley gets his first NHL W, and Devin Cooley is actually from the Bay Area. He played on the Junior Sharks when he was a kid, and so he's the first person to play He's the first Californian to get a win as a goalie for our California team as well. So that's kind of a fun little stat. I mean, there have been California goalies and California players, but they all go play elsewhere, right? They don't end up on the Sharks or the Ducks or the Kings. Devin Cooley's the first one. His mom and his family were in the stands. Like they had one camera on her the entire time, and like she's like crying happy tears and everything. It's a beautiful sight. It actually gave me goosebumps watching the game as it was happening, as the overtime goal happened. They killed off a penalty right before that too. So like they really worked for it. Devin Cooley stick taps, bud. Eklund stick taps. Good game. But then also after that, they lose 5-2 versus Arizona, another terrible team. You guys had that for your win of the week. All of us were wrong. So they are dead last in everything in the NHL. And that win actually didn't even hurt the standings because Chicago also won. So who cares, right? You can have a feel good win near the end of the year. They played pretty well that game too. That's a season sweep on the St. Louis Blues, pretty much ending their shot at the playoffs as well. So upcoming this week, we have Tuesday versus Calgary, Thursday at Seattle, Saturday versus Minnesota. Let's see.
I'm gonna let you pick
Okay.
first on this one.
All right, that's fine. It's kind of tough. You know what? I'm going. Minnesota is going to be my pick for win of the week. It's the last game of the season. Or no, maybe not the last, but it's definitely it's the last home game, and it's fan appreciation night. So I'm going to take that one.
I was gonna take that same game because of fan appreciation night.
All right.
I'll take the Sea Monster.
All right. And we have locked those in. So as it stands, I have a half game lead on Tyler for win of the week for this season. Like I mentioned it last week. There's only 18 wins on the entire season, including this week, and we've gotten a win on half of these between the two of us, basically. So
I just also really want them to lose because I mean, to be honest with you, having a first round pick and having a first
the number
overall
one
pick,
overall, yeah,
the Sharks have never had that. So I would love to celebrate with Celebrini. So
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. They're far enough back now at this point, though. I think one win it's not gonna make a difference. I think Chicago has like a 7-point lead on the Sharks at this point, so it's basically done. It's not like completely done, but it's done.
Yeah.
So
I did read some. I was reading some draft stuff. They're pretty much in the same position. It's like 25 and a half, 25 and a quarter, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're still at a 25% mark to get that number one overall pick. And that one dude who we talked about last week a lot, he's still the clear cut number one guy. And I did see some
Yep.
I did see some articles saying that if the Sharks were able to get Celebrini and pair him with Will Smith and Eklund, that's a potentially a really good team coming in the next few years.
That's a really good line.
So like Will Smith and Celebrini, those guys are considered, really good prospects. Eklund, I think, is a good prospect, but he's not considered like a superstar, where Celebrini could potentially be like a really good player for a really long time and be a player that changes the course of a franchise. So
Right, yeah. So that's
and
a guy that you
Will
want to get.
Smith is not too far behind in that echelon of talent
Right.
as well. He's only
Yeah.
20, 21 years old, and he's tearing it up in college right now.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Absolutely.
old
So,
BC.
that's right. Yeah. So, all right. So this is the
Keep
main
losing,
story now.
Sharks. Get that number 1.
That's right. Let's go,
Hold on,
buddy.
hold on, Vince. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm,
All right. Drink
mm.
up, guys. It's time. We've approached the moment. It's finally here.
The crisis.
The crisis on infinite Oakland fans' hearts. I don't know how to make that on infinite Earths, but I tried. Oh well. So the A's it's official. They will be playing in Sacramento for the 2025, 26, and 27 seasons, with an option for 2028 if Las Vegas isn't quite ready for them. The city of Oakland had reportedly reduced the asking amount to $60 million from $97 million, but that obviously wasn't enough. The team also reworked the deal with NBC Sports California. Those terms have not been disclosed as of yet. And Vivek Ranadive, the Sacramento Kings and the River Cats owner, he is not charging rent and is not getting any guarantee of expansion rights, according to Casey Pratt. And Casey got it on tape with Vivek saying that. So that ended up being just a escape hatch when John Fisher was pinned up against the wall by Oakland. They had him trapped, and Vivek pulled a little lever for his friend, and he was able to escape.
So real quick before I know Sam's gonna go off here and by all means, and when I'm done here, I'm gonna ask you a question too, Sam. I'm curious if you did the same thing that I did. So I love the fact, and this is the only positive thing I'm gonna get out of this. Okay, I love the fact that it's a big wrinkle of a story, but part of it being that the Giants ultimately kind of turned their backs on the A's, right? So they could have helped us out just like how the A's helped them out, right?
Right.
The only positive thing I have about this and that I love is that now the A's are going to be playing in Sacramento at their AAA affiliate, and their AAA affiliate has been having talks about maybe possibly playing games at the Coliseum. It's not going to happen.
Ridiculous.
But the
ridiculous.
Point being is that even the Giants are getting screwed in this deal. And they're catching strays on this whole entire situation. So
as they should.
And they should. But my point being is that, like, you could have helped. And now you're getting the reap of John Fisher, whether you wanted it or not. So my question to you was, Sam, was you and I both we moseyed on up to Tahoe this past weekend. What did you do when you drove through Sacramento? I booed that city. I booed in the car.
Oh,
loud.
yeah.
What did you do?
Oh, when I drove through West Sac, I said, fuck this. I hope the Kings lose. I hope the Warriors move up a spot and the Kings drop a spot so we can whoop that ass. I used to cheer for the Kings. I was happy that the Kings stayed in Sacramento. I was cheering for Vivek to own the team and keep him in Sacramento and build the stadium, build the arena for him. That's great, man. That's great. That's awesome, because I have a lot of friends who are Sacramento Kings fans. So I was happy for them that their hearts weren't ripped out. And then for the people who are just, we have nothing to do with it. We'll stand up, stand for something. So yeah, I don't give a shit about the Kings. I hope they never win anything as long as they got the same owner. As long as this guy is being a jackass like this, I hope they win jack shit. I hope every single player is a bust. I hope they never win anything with this ownership. So that's how I feel about the Sacramento Kings. They can kiss my ass. As far as this whole Sacramento thing, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe that they're in Vegas when I see it. This ownership group, the front office group, as led by the human bobblehead, Cavill, they're fucking clowns. So they got all of these. They had a deal worked out for Fremont, didn't happen. They have a deal worked out in San Jose, didn't happen. They have a deal worked out in Laney College, not going to happen. You know, so it's been scenario after scenario that they can't get shit done. So I'll believe it when I see it. I could honestly see it's been kind of tossed around by some Twitter ex users that are pretty popular in this A's stuff. Is there a possibility that John Fisher, the reason why he's going to Sacramento, and now you're seeing that, you know, the bootlicker, the reporter over there in Las Vegas,
Mick Akers.
Mick Akers. There's been some tweets coming out from over there that doesn't seem too happy about the A's going to Sacramento to play before Las Vegas, because it's potentially, you know, there's issues with the Tropicana site, there's issues with Bally, and could John Fisher actually trying to put a bidding war with Sacramento, with Las Vegas, with Oakland, possibly to try to get an even better deal, you know, to try to get even more. People quickly forget how much money the city of Oakland actually raised for the stadium on site and off site. It's actually more than what Las Vegas is offering. It's actually
Way more.
more.
Way more.
And the bottom line is John Fisher didn't want to pay for anything. And if John Fisher didn't want to pay for the thing with the Howard Terminal site, the A's wanted to develop apartments. They wanted to develop condos. They wanted to develop a concert venue. They wanted to develop shopping centers. They want to develop a hotel. Why does a baseball team need to be a neighborhood development agency? Why don't you just focus on the baseball stadium?
Well,
I'll let you get in there.
Here's the thing too. John Fisher, yes, he had to pay his portion for the stadium, but then he was going to get the money back. The city of Oakland was going to pay him back
through a tax initiative. Yeah.
So the deal was not only just better as far as a dollar value, but at the back end of it, he was still getting a better deal than what
apples
he's going
to
to get
apples
in Vegas.
comparison, guys. Waterfront property in the Bay Area. It doesn't matter if it's Oakland. Waterfront property on the Bay, or a minor league stadium in West Sacramento, or a dinky ass stadium on 9 acres in Las Vegas. You go from, what's the Coliseum site? Like 140 acres, 130 acres or something?
Astronomically.
Acres.
Yeah.
Let's
way
say
over
100 plus. Howard Terminal was like 55, 65, something like that. To now you're at a minor league stadium and then possibly moving into 9 acres. Like, why is MLB allowing a franchise to downsize repeatedly in one move? It makes no economical sense. And the bottom line is John Fisher doesn't have the money to pay for a stadium. And I think even if he did, he doesn't have the liquidity to do it. He has no desire to build. He will build on other people's dime. And for the Giants, I really think they don't really care about their minor league team getting moved around and playing in Timbuktu or Oakland or San Jose. They don't care because they want the A's gone. San Francisco, it's so well known that if the A's had a waterfront ballpark, the East Bay is not just Oakland.
Yep.
It's everything around it. So you're talking about San Leandro, San Lorenzo, Hayward, Castro Valley, Livermore, Dublin, Walnut Creek. If you put a winning ball club with a beautiful stadium, you were talking about thousands upon thousands of fans.
Yeah. The two counties of Contra Costa and Alameda, those two counties alone, population wise, that's about the same size market as Sacramento. Like that,
Right.
like it is huge. It's about a third of the entire Bay Area population. So I mean, but you're still talking about just in like there are a lot smaller markets than Sacramento that currently have baseball teams.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so I'm not entirely saying that Sacramento isn't deserving of professional sports. I'm not saying that at all. They clearly support the Kings very well, but the way that you almost lost the Kings and then just to like turn around and stab Oakland in the back, it does not feel good. Both me and my dad talked to my brother about it. He lives in Sacramento, my brother. And let's say my brother, he's not going to be spending any money on the River Cats. I'll tell you that. Um, Normally they would typically go to a game or two, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Yeah,
No, I don't think
it's going to
so.
be bad. He's going to be focusing on the soccer team because Vivek doesn't have anything to do with that at this point.
I mean, I
So,
think there's definitely, fans in Sacramento that are A's fans that I get are excited that the A's are going to be, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. I get that. I get that. And there's going to, but I would say that the majority of fans and citizens actually don't like the move because it's a shit move. It's a hypocrite move.
Mhm.
They just experienced this. So I don't really think that it's an overwhelmingly excited thing that the A's are coming, especially on a temporary contract. And that's why I think like you're not even going to carry the Sacramento name. You're just going to be the A's.
yeah.
Like
So when
how a
they do the
baseball team, how MLB allows this is like is nonsense.
yeah.
It's
So
nonsense.
when they do like the abbreviations for each team or
It's
whatever,
just going to say
in like
A's.
it's just it's gonna just say A's or maybe ATH for athletics. I don't know. It's gonna be really weird. Athletics versus Boston. So it'll A apostrophe S or ATH versus BOS. So that's gonna be
I didn't finish this thought about the bidding war. So one of the things that's being talked about online, I mean, there's no official anything, but I guess the point to this is again, I'll believe all of this when I see it. I'll believe that they're in Vegas when the stadium is being built and they're there. And the same thing with Sacramento. A year is a long way to go. This is not approved by the Players Association, the Players Union. It's not approved. Um, I
there's
don't
a lot
really
of
I don't
improvements to
really
be made.
understand how MLB needed to approve the A's to go to Vegas, but MLB didn't need to approve them to go to Sacramento. That doesn't really make sense to me that they could just go to Sacramento temporarily. That doesn't make any sense that there was no vote on that. Um, the reason why I think the bidding war thing has a little bit of truth to it is if John Fisher sells the team in Las Vegas, we know about he's going to be heavily penalized. But if he sells the team before then, he can make a huge profit. So right now, and this came from Mick Akers, is that the A's are valued about 1.2, 1.3 billion, which is the second lowest in all of MLB. So people are using that article, some other articles, and some other things that are leaking out in that could this situation, John Fisher, Cal will use West Sacramento as leverage to try to drive up the price? Because even if you paid 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 billion for the baseball team, it's still cheaper than paying in to have an expansion team.
Yeah. The other part is the copyrights for Sacramento.
Yeah, I was just going to say that
Sacramento
too.
A's and Sacramento Athletics. My dad's in the chat talking about that. Last Dive Bar applied for the Las Vegas Athletics copyright, so
Yep.
good on
Good.
them. Stir the pot a little bit. We appreciate pot stirrers here.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, to that bidding war, like obviously we're not gonna say that the Warriors owner is the guy that's gonna do it all, but you want to talk capital. I think Vivek doesn't hold a candle to him, and nobody in Vegas holds a candle to him either. I mean, the Warriors are the second most profitable American sports franchise. I mean, they're only second to what I think the Yankees. I think at this point, right? So something
Something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah.
So good luck. If it becomes a bidding war, good luck.
I think if it becomes a bidding war, but with baseball, I mean, it's not. Joe Lacob tried to buy a baseball team before, right? And
right. It all comes down to what the commissioner says.
So it all comes down if you're part of the boys club. And I could see Lacob and his investor group putting together more money and MLB saying nah because he's not part of that club. Because Joe Lacob instantly for the A's, let's say he buys the team and the A's stay in Oakland, right? Lacob instantly becomes the George Steinbrenner of baseball. Instantly, he's the hottest owner. Oh my God, what is he going to do? And is he going to, how is he going to move forward? Is he going to start drafting? Is he going to try to go after the biggest free agents? What do you do? What's going on with the stadium? It's, what are you going to do with the overall team and the franchise? But instantly remember when Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks and he became the headline of the NBA. Sometimes it was more about Mark Cuban than it was about the Dallas Mavericks. So I think instantly, not that Lacob is a guy that acts out like that. I'm just saying that all of the shine, all of the Joey Light years, all of the stuff that he did with the Warriors instantly becomes equity with the A's, and it's going to become a talking point. And I don't know if MLB wants that. I don't think MLB wants an owner that's a Lacob, that's a Mark Cuban. I don't think they want that. They want these guys to keep making cities and counties pay for this stuff. These are all owners who don't really care about baseball, man. There are more John Fishers in MLB than there are Joe Lacobs. You hear about Joe Lacob talking about basketball, even when he bought the Warriors. He's a fan of basketball. He's a fan of sports. So I don't think these guys, MLB owners, they're not really fans of the game. Not like you and I. They're not really into it. It's instant return on investment, forever going up. Look at what the St. Louis Cardinals, they got their third Busch Stadium, or whatever it is. They get the new stadium and they have this entire downtown area that they built. You have all of these teams trying to build their own shopping centers, bars, restaurants, and that is ruining franchises, because that stuff happens naturally. But now when you ask a city for funding, you're not just asking for funding for a stadium because they're large infrastructure projects. You're now asking for the taxpayer to pay for the stadium, pay for all the infrastructure around it, like sidewalks and intersections and lights and utilities and things like that. Okay, that's fine. But then you're also asking them to subsidize the construction of the hotel, the construction of all the restaurants, the construction of all the bars and everything around it through their taxes, then to be patrons, then to go to all of these restaurants, to go to all these bars, to buy the concert tickets, to buy the baseball tickets so that they could be profitable and keep players. So, I mean, where does it end? Like, how much more can you give as a fan, as a citizen? And that's the nasty side of sports. That's the business side of it. But there needs to be common ground. There needs to be. Howard Terminal could have got done last year. All they needed to do, the A's, all they needed to do was scale the project down a bit or put this in pieces. Hey, we're going to focus on the stadium. Let's have a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, 10-year window on the land around it, so that when the stadium is built, we have first option to build around it. They didn't want to negotiate. And that to me is they wanted everything for free. They wanted, they're not liquid. John Fisher doesn't have enough liquidity because it went from John Fisher to now it's John Fisher, his brothers, his mom. It's the whole Fisher estate, so they don't got the money. And then you want to jam pack your baseball stadium with your personal art gallery. So now the Las Vegas fan is building a stadium and then also building an art gallery for your crap? It makes no sense. This guy's a grifter. He's
Yeah.
asking for everything for free.
I would
So
also
already the fans are in Sacramento and Las Vegas. There's more and more fans now that are seeing who he really is.
Yeah, I agree that the MLB doesn't want this, right? It's too much loud. It's too much. But at that same argument, I mean, you're fighting NBA on some nights on viewership. You're probably bottom three of the top four sports, right? And hockey is probably getting its way up there. I mean, it's getting
Yeah,
more and more popular.
hockey and soccer are still niche, but they're coming, they're catching up.
Yeah. So
I wanted to
yeah.
ask you guys something after your point, Tyler.
So to not have Joe Lake up on there, to not have that media circus around your team and eyes wanting to watch and see what he's doing with this team, and he could change it within 3 or 4 years like he did with the Warriors. Like that to me makes no sense. I mean, you could literally get a spike in business overnight by making Fisher sell and go to Lake Up. But to your point, you're right. They don't want that because they want to make sure that the way they do business stays the way they do business. Meanwhile, their viewership and their ratings are just tanking every single day. I mean, they had that one kid that they took away his highlights of being in the echelon of history, all because of an injury, right? Was it an injury or something like that, right? The pitcher. I mean, now they're thinking about trying to ban the pitch clock now. It's just
It's ridiculous.
MLB can't get out of its own way, and it could easily solve it by just doing one or two things, but it can't. It's impossible.
I've been saying this for years and years and years now, since this whole stadium stuff started happening here in Oakland when I was a teenager. I'm nearly 40. I'm a year away, a little less than a year away from being 40. And this is how much stadium BS we've been talking about. I mean, literally like 25, 30 years of talking about stadiums in Oakland. Kansas City is going through it, right? They just shot down a vote to help fund the Chiefs and the Royals. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot of nuance in that situation where there are a lot of citizens and fans who would support a tax. But the location for the Royals that they picked is the worst location they could have picked due to traffic and other areas that are being developed. So they just went and they did a Laney College. We're going to build here. No, you're not. There's other stuff going on here. That's a bad plan. We're not going to support that. And then the Chiefs, they want a bunch of money to reamp Arrowhead. But anyway, these franchises are still asking for citizens to pay for the stadium and then support the team and all of the crap that goes around it. And that's really unfair. That's really unfair, especially when cities, not just Oakland, when cities, this is all cities. If you have a major league team, you have crime, you have drugs, you have violence, you have traffic offenders, you have things that require a budget, that require a city to take care of. You have education, you have hospitals, there are other bills that citizens are on the hook for. Those need to be prioritized too, and those need to be understood. The thing I wanted to ask you guys as we move away a little bit from it is, I think we all know that if the A's leave, if this truly is the final nail in the coffin and they're gone, will MLB or any league ever come back to Oakland, California? I don't know if you guys saw the article written by Michael Thompson in
Marcus
The Athletic,
Thompson?
Marcus
Oh, yeah.
Thompson,
Yeah.
about it's an ugly but necessary process that the city of Oakland has to do and start fresh, so that if sports were ever to return to Oakland on a pro scale, that it's clean and that it is a team that starts in Oakland, right? I don't know if Oakland will ever have that opportunity again, because I think if it's baseball, I think MLB will be scorned with how this situation is playing out. And then I think the Giants are going to cry foul and say, "Oh, well, Oakland, the Bay Area is part of our market now." So I think there's stuff like that. Football, you need to have a certain size stadium. unless you build on the current site, where are you going to put an NFL size stadium in Oakland? You would have to put a lot of eminent domain, and I don't think you're going to do that. The NBA, you're probably not putting a second team here. I don't even think it would take. Even if you had an owner that would do it, I don't think it would take. Hockey, MLS, like I don't know. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to have another pro sports team
Yeah,
if the A's leave.
I would say baseball is the most likely opportunity for another pro sports team. Also, it's not gonna like basically we would have to be looking at the expansion to 36 teams to get
Yeah, because they're
baseball.
definitely
It's
not going
not
to be
gonna
part of the next
they're,
round.
they're not going to be part of the expansion to 32. And you can't expand to 33, 34, or 35 because the leagues are then unbalanced again because you're talking about 17 teams and you can't have even divisions and stuff. So, uh whenever if Major League Baseball ever does get to 36 teams, I think that's when Oakland would have a shot. And frankly, it's taken them 25 years. We're 26 years since the last time they expanded to 32 to 30 teams, excuse me. With the Tampa Bay Rays and the Arizona Diamondbacks in 1998. So, we're talking 50 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, we're looking at like when the Dodgers left Brooklyn and and Brooklyn got the Nets when they built an arena in Brooklyn. Like, and there was probably like what 50 or 60 years in between that. So we're looking at something like that, a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Like, I highly doubt we'll be alive to see a baseball team, an MLB baseball team in Oakland.
I do think
unfortunately.
that Oakland put a lot of eggs in the basket when it came to sports franchises. I mean, they had 3 of them, you know. I think being an Oakland resident, my concern going forward is that you don't have a cash cow in a
You don't
pro
have an
sports
anchor.
team. So how does the city find a way to fix itself when it's already in a situation or state of, well, I'll call it decay and turmoil. I mean, that's really what it is right now. I was just joking with some friends over the weekend that most people say, "Oh, I live in a good city, but it has some bad spots." Well, I say Oakland is a bad city and it has some good spots. So that shouldn't be the narrative, but it is. And now that there's not going to be a pro sports team to allocate some funds to the city in any capacity, how is Oakland going to be able to repair itself into the image to be able to accept another pro sports team that wants to come be here? And I think that's the biggest question mark that Mayor Sheng Tao has to deal with going forward. And I think she did a great job, probably better than any other mayor that I could think of off the top of my head. Clearly better than Libby Schaff as far as getting the funding needed to be able to make things happen. But now it's her opportunity to take that funding and use it to better the city, because I don't know where your money's going to come from to better the city. I mean, I clearly don't know.
Yeah.
There's no businesses. There's nothing here.
All those grants that they got for Howard Terminal, they can still use those grants on that waterfront area, Jack London Square and whatnot too. So I mean, so that's that's part of it. That's part of the start. Like,
I did
you
see
secured
that they
you secured $500 million.
I
Time
did
to
see
start
that
using it.
those grants, they had to go through to get access to those grants. You got to choose a contractor and receive bids for each section of the project. So I know they've been receiving bids, and I know some of the railroad stuff, they chose a contractor and they're getting ready to start implementing
Right.
that construction plan. So there is some positivity. But to piggyback off of what Tyler is saying, we spent the weekend together in Tahoe. We talked a little bit about this. And we talked about it with some friends who are not like, baseball fans, just kind of the image of the city. And one of the things we were talking about is like there are some beautiful spots to Oakland. Lake Merritt is beautiful. There's some trails that are gorgeous. I think the Oakland Zoo is absolutely fantastic. I prefer the Oakland Zoo over San Francisco. I think both are
Oh,
great.
100%. Yeah.
But I think the Oakland Zoo is just a better zoo. It's just a better facility. Apples to apples, I just think it's a better facility. you know, the Chabot Space and Science Center is incredible. The archery range, I don't know if you guys ever been up there. There's a beautiful outdoor archery range. So there's outside of those things, I was trying to think of things on what to do in Oakland, right? Things to do in Oakland. Oracle is still kind of going. There's still, I think I read somewhere that this was actually the most profitable Oracle has been since the Warriors have left. And it's not because of the, you know, because of the Warriors. It's just the agreement with the JPA, the city of Oakland, and all the teams. The teams weren't paying that much rent. So the Warriors didn't pay that much rent. So when they vacated, the city of Oakland was able to like rent out Oracle Arena and get proper rent. So actually Oracle Arena is for the first time in many years is like turning a real profit. So people are going to concerts in Oakland. And it's kind of the same thing with the A's. They were only paying like $1.25 million in rent per year for 10 years. So the moment that Libby Schaff and John Fisher and the A's signed this 10-year lease, you signed the death warrant on the Raiders. And Libby Schaff publicly chose to work with the A's because of 81 business days over 8. Because the NFL only plays at the time 16 games, you get 8 plus a preseason game or 2. But she said, you know, regular season games, you only get 8. So I'm going to choose 81 business days over 8. So she publicly said that. Mm-hmm. With Shang Tao, I think she's done a better job than Libby Schaff. She was not my choice to be mayor. This ranking system, I think, kind of put the kerfuffle on this thing. We talked about this last week or the week before. There was no way in hell that the A's were going to pay $95 million in rent. There's just no freaking way.
Yeah, we knew that number would come down, but
then they counter to 60. There's no way in hell they're paying 60. Yeah. The only way they were going to pay rent is $1 million. Mm-hmm. That's what they were going to agree to.
Yeah, I think they want the A's put out 17 million for 2 years was their official counter. And then obviously those numbers are nowhere near each other. And then they got bailed. The A's got bailed out. The A's were getting squeezed by Major League Baseball, right? And they got bailed out when Vivek said no rent, you know, in Sacramento. And so
going back to Tyler's point about like Lacob and his people have more money and more support than those two owners. Vivek, you know, saying, "Oh, you could play here rent free." The other owners are they're gonna remember that.
Yep.
They're gonna remember that. So even though Lacob has more money, it's gonna come down to being part of the boys club. And let's not forget, you know, what's his name of Oracle? When he put
Larry Ellison,
he put a bid to buy the Warriors, and it was way more than what Lacob offered, and the team ended up with Lacob, and Larry Ellison was good. As like, well, that's the thing with sports, you know, it's not like business where you could just buy everybody's stock and do a hostile takeover. You can't just, you know, you got to get voted in. So it worked in favor of the Warriors in this situation, but it may work against A's fans in this situation where if the A's were somehow to be sold, it may not be to Lacob, or it may not be to another owner that would keep them in Oakland. So I don't know. All of it is maddening, frustrating. I had to take time off of social media because every time I was reading something about the A's, like, it's just infuriating. It's a complete joke. I do believe what Rob Manfred said a few years ago of, you know, in time, MLB will regret not being in Oakland. Because if you do put a beautiful ballpark on the water, as Howard Terminal could have been, I think that creates a lot of funding for the team to be successful. I think it creates a lot of funding for players to be paid. And I think it creates a huge amount of fans in the East Bay region, not just Oakland, but all of the cities that are pretty densely populated cities all the way around it, would create fans. To think that we're just going to be absorbed by whatever team or the Giants, like, I'm sorry, but there's going to be a lot of young kids who are 10, 12, 13, 18, 19, 20 who don't have kids right now, and they're not going to raise their kids to be Giants fans. They're not going to raise their kids maybe to even be baseball fans. So, for those future Giants fans in the East Bay, it's going to be many, many years, and I don't think it's not going to be as quickly absorbed like the 49ers Raiders situation. It's not going to be quickly taken over like that. This situation is totally different than the Raiders and the Warriors. It's absolutely different. And I'm not saying the city shouldn't be blamed for certain things. That was my whole point about, their A's weren't going to pay $90 million. They're not going to pay $60 million in rent. The city of Oakland, Jerry Brown, made his mistakes. Libby Schaff made his mistakes. This has been an ongoing issue since like the mid 90s. It's how long I've been hearing about ballparks in Oakland. So many, many people are to blame. Bud Selig is to blame. There's been multiple buyers. Reggie Jackson. There's, multiple people wanted to buy this team and keep them in Oakland 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And it never, MOB never let it happen. And there's a history there. I don't know if you guys heard this, but Bud Selig tried to buy the A's and relocate them in the mid 80s, I want to say, early 80s, right before he bought the Brewers. And he was shunned. And so there's personal gripes. Bud Selig has personal gripes against the athletics organization. So it's long and rooted. Bud Selig being buddies with Lou Wolf and John Fisher and this whole organization. That whole thing is a mess as well. So I'm just glad that more and more people are starting to wake up that John Fisher and his cronies are shit people. And they're starting to see that the other businesses that they work on are also mismanaged. Like the Gap is a huge corporation that essentially is like almost is on its dying. It's on the death altar. Nobody wants to buy this shit anymore.
I like that it's getting national news at this point. I mean, it's been brought up in multiple different podcasts. And Danny, what's his name? Amendola. He brought it up and has been really the light over there on the East Coast. The ex Marlins front office man. He's
Dave
been bringing
Sampson,
it up. So it's getting a lot of foul territory. Is talking about it a lot. And even Trevor May has been talking about it a lot on his, personal channel. So I appreciate that it's getting more and more national news. Not to say that it was a little too late. I mean, it's not their fault. The John Fisher and his cronies have done a good job of masking that, and I'm just glad that that's being peeled back and people are seeing what he truly is here. So
yeah. And then just to kind of put a bow on everything, I'm glad that it's basically we have some resolution now at the very least. We can start preparing the funeral services. We can, if you're gonna go to one last game, if you're an A's fan, you can start making those plans and prepare yourself at the very least. If you're already out, congratulations, welcome to my side. I'm done as well. I've been done since June. I talked about it before, why I'm done. But I don't think
I can go, man.
Unless
it was like another parking lot kick it.
Yeah. I mean, I it's just it's a pain in the ass. It sucks, and I hate this. But there's answers now at the very least, and we can make whatever preparations you need to make personally. And I've said it before, whatever you as an A's fan, whatever you decide you're doing, that's fine. I'm not gonna fight you on that, on anybody on that. However you decide to handle this, if you're done, you're done. That's fine. If you're gonna rock with them in Sacramento and then call it quits before they go to Vegas, that's your choice too. I'm not here to put fans against fans at this point. Uh, this is no like we fought the good fight at this point. People like Casey and Brody, they've been kind of our standard bearers for a long time. So and they're basically have both thrown up the flags at this point. It's Sacramento's going to happen at this point. I know that there's issues to clear, but they're gonna clear them. MLB is gonna strong arm their way into Sacramento, and just like they're gonna strong arm their way into Vegas at this point. And it's unfortunate and it sucks, and I hate this. And uh, I'm not gonna hold it against anybody for whatever decision they end up making at this point. So
Well, remember, Vince, what time is it?
it's fuck John Fisher o'clock.
On that note, guys, I would just like to say you've been listening to the SVT podcast. Subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell to get alerts when we go live. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at SVT Sports Pod. Slide into our DMs. We would love to interact with all of you.
Good night, everybody.
Later, everyone.
Later.